Nintendo for Christmas one time, and when she brought that home, that was really cool because it was like she was like, okay, I recognize you're all behaving yourselves. You have something to play after school, and we played that, and I really got into gaming that way. Another memory that I think is pretty important is when I was doing really well in middle school and my aunt got me Pokemon, and that's what got me into that. And then I think that really like got me into gaming more so than when my mom bought me Mario. Um but after that, I've been into the hobby, in my youth, and the more I've looked into things, I've been thinking more about like who's creating the games, what's influencing that, and things of that nature. And then, I certainly noticed, the folks telling the stories, who's writing them, and then it gets here. It's like, I'm not noticing a lot of us, and that was interesting because I'm in a household very much that's like into news and staying informed. So obviously I was like, well, I normally see Black journalists watching local news. And, so I'm looking at gaming and these websites and those things. There's not a lot of us. So that's interesting. And then, over the years, I've noticed that individuals have taken it upon themselves to who are Black, who are reporting the news. One individual that comes to mind is like Hip Hop Gamer. This was a gentleman who yeah, he just literally took it upon himself. He's like, this is a brother right here who's reporting the news. I'm like, yo, that's dope. Respect. And then slowly over the years, as things happen, I thought, I'm not really seeing writing and things being pointed out the way that I think about it. Maybe that's because there aren't enough of us there. But I certainly started to think about that. And then I started writing on my own for a number of years. I've just wrote pieces on my own. And then what's funny is prior to being hired by gamesindustry.biz in 2021, the lead up to that, I want to say within the span of like the 18 months or so, I was getting work published on major gaming publications because it got to a point where I'm like, okay, well, I'm very confident in my writing now. And I know for a fact that no one's really writing stuff like this. So, what's even funnier is that on a sister site that's no longer there, but when 2020 came around, I thought, what would be a great piece for Black History Month is that what's the deal with the fact that there aren't a lot of Black gaming journalists in major publications? So I actually wrote that. They helped me out, and I published that, and that felt like a big pat on my back, And I was like, oh man, this is okay. I'm more confident in myself now, and I just pitched other things to get other works published, and then eventually I just saw that job posting, and I thought, why not? Because I've been writing, I have a resume, and I think that I could definitely do this work and learn and just show people that this is something I've been working towards. And sure enough, I went through the interview process. They said, yeah, so I'm here, and that's very cool. And one thing I will say though about my journey, I wouldn't be a gaming journalist on a major publication if not for the communities and people that I've just been with, for them supporting me and letting me know I can do whatever I want and just not forget, who I am in the process. So I'm always thankful for being in community with them, because without them, I don't think I would have turned in a resume, let alone still be here. So, shout out to them for real.
When
But
you
yeah,
say community, you're referring to the gaming community supporting you in this space, or just your community?
yeah. Um, the communities, well, it's a mix. I mean, like friends I've made who are also in the hobby, but also they as individuals. Like at first we kind of met each other because of gaming, which oddly enough, but then outside of that, we just became friends, and we just talk about life, how we're navigating, and other important things. And that's helped me keep perspective, and just different people, like some of my mentors that I've just followed because of their work and just spoke to them and things like that. So yeah, definitely it was we had the common interest of gaming, but also from that I've been able to, build relationships with people and just, not so much just hang out, but really be in community and talk about things and, how we're feeling and, just being ourselves as we navigate the world.
I love how you said and to navigate the world. That's amazing. I like that. Um, so talk to me a little bit about, have you ever experienced any type of racism or discrimination in this, in the gaming space? Either online or in person, and if so, how did you handle it?
Um, so
Why did you laugh? Let's talk about that
because
laugh,
sure,
definitely.
sure, sure. I laugh because I remember I was actually a part of I don't know if it's a hate campaign, but I was definitely like Twitter villain one day because and I'll specifically explain what happened was that it was a post relating to a very popular video game. But obviously, when you look at it, all the human characters do not look like you or I whatsoever, right? And that's just because of a consequence of the decisions. I don't even know if consequences were. It's just because of the game developers' decision of like what a lot of their characters are like and what inspires them. And I said something to the fact of like it has more in common with college rule papers than anything else. And what happened was that I actually ended up being on, I think my post ended up being reposted or whatever is on Reddit. And obviously, you know how hateful people can be on the internet. So what happened was that I was a target of that. And then, what I did was, okay, one, let me lock down my account. So it was like locked down for like a month or whatever. And then I just blocked any account that was like reposting my work or whatever. So that wasn't fun. But that's a very recent memory I can think of regarding, particularly like racism regarding that. But outside of that, in my work, I haven't necessarily met that. I mean, I'm pretty sure in my earlier works freelancing, I've probably got like a comment or two about something I've written, but I really don't care about what people think. Like these issues are very real. So I'm sorry if your skin pigmentation makes you think otherwise, but it is what it is. Um, it's funny that you do mention that though. There are times where I'll see my peers and colleagues at different publications run into racism here and there. And that also gives me a moment of positive thinking that, people aren't really changing, even though the fact that we're doing good work, in some cases. So it's really a case of, well, I don't really need to pay attention to you. And it's easier said than done, I know, but a lot of times, like just based on my work, I'll just really focus on my work, just try to share what I think is interesting or people might find positive. And outside of really the comments from my friend group or you know, people close to me, I really don't care about anything else. Oh, that of course, and comments from my editors, regarding my work, obviously, because they're helping me be better. So yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. Being when Reddit decides to like jump on you, that's not fun for your mentions. It's not.
Wow,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Uh, Outside of gaming, I know that you are, really big into social political issues and mental health. And
Hmm.
that's mental health is definitely a space that I'm in, having a daughter that experienced trauma from being third-degree burned, um, third-degree burns to her face when she was 4 years old. And so we're coming up on our 5th-year anniversary. So that kind of led me into my purpose on I do beauty transformations and I'm all about positivity. And I love how throughout this interview that's you always speaking that. And so you're speaking my language and
Yeah.
when your publicist reached out and that was in your bio. Talk to me a little bit about your work in that mental health space and how did you kind of, how did you get into the whole mental health um,
Hmm.
space?
So, um, I'll be honest, and I'll try to be as brief with this. So when everything was happening with 2020, like my mental health definitely took a dive because I realized that uh that was probably the first time in my life that I've been so angry and sad and frustrated all at once. And the thing was that I was already thinking about really just having a relationship with a therapist. So I thankfully I found a black therapist to talk to, and she and I have a really good rapport, and I've been going to her regularly. But since then, when we talked, she said, well, I noticed you're a writer, and writing, I'm sure is something that you do to really help you navigate things and your feelings. And she was right. So after that, I decided, well, I'm when I feel, inclined and enthused, I'm really gonna write about mental health, and especially for the Black community. It's important to put that out there that we
Sure.
definitely need that, right? And I'm sure you can attest to that. And but especially for Black men, we just need to know that it's okay to not feel okay. And I really tried to sit down and write about that, and share that with people and let people know. Say, hey, if you don't feel good, it's fine. Talk to a professional. I remind my friends in my circles as well that I do regularly go to therapy, mainly just to ask, hey, are these feelings that I'm feeling, are they making sense? Am I navigating the world? Is it making sense? But of course, you realize it's like that. There's no such thing as making sense. It's helping you gather the tools to help you understand why you're feeling the way you feel, and
Right.
how you can be better. Uh, be more. What's the word I'm looking for here? And just have more empathy for people. Um, and it's funny I mentioned that because I remember writing last year. I wrote a piece about why Black men should seriously consider professional therapy help. Not so much. And what I and I wrote it from the point of view, it's not so much that you feel like you could take on the world, but hey brother, you need help. I do too. Like, I admit it. And I was very, very honest in there. And I know there's a lot of stigmas because we're all not bulletproof. We're human beings. We feel things, all of us. And if being vulnerable doesn't if for any reason you're shunned for that, then maybe those relationships you have with those people may not be the best for you. And I try to keep that to heart, and I understand everybody just has a different journey with it. And even recently, there was something I wasn't it was pretty difficult for me to navigate, but after talking through my therapist and just talking things out and looking at it a different way, I'm working through it. Now regarding gaming, um the way that fits into there is that when I am writing stories and I'm thinking about people and how they're feeling, that helps me be more empathetic and sympathetic as to what's going on with things and why people feel the way they feel. Like, people aren't just angry just to be angry. Like, I don't necessarily believe that, although there are times where it's like, okay, well, it's just internet hoopla. But people feel things for a reason. And regarding mental health, playing games when I'm Black helps me a lot. So I'm gonna be honest about that. So yeah, and of course I hope to keep writing more about mental health. I don't know if I'll write a book one day, but I wouldn't be surprised if I do.
Oh my God. I would love to definitely do another interview with you just in that space. Like, your voice is just so soothing. Have you ever heard that? You have like
Yeah,
this
people tell
soothing,
me that.
you
Yeah,
definitely have a podcaster's voice.
yeah. Thank
Um,
you.
are there any speaking of, you brought in that especially gaming while Black has helped, are there any gaming communities or online spaces that you feel particularly comfortable in, and if so, why?
Yeah, there are a few. There's quite, thankfully there's a lot.
Okay.
But Hawk and Play is one that's an organization that was created from folks in Europe, folks of color in Europe. That's really cool. I appreciate being in that space because we're all different individuals with different professional backgrounds, but we have honest and frank conversations with ourselves when we feel comfortable. I appreciate that space. Another space that I'm lucky to be in is within oh man, am I forgetting the name? This is horrible. Oh, there it's funny you mentioned podcasting because I'm a regular I would say contributor to the Unreasonable Fridays podcast, and I'm in within that Discord. That's where that's a podcast from my friends, but when I'm on and I'm speaking with them, we get to have honest and frank conversations about being Black and gaming as a hobby. That also definitely helps. I appreciate that space as well. Um, one that well, the I would say three that I think are interesting. I'm not in them, but of course, Black Girl Gamers is one that I always look at and it's like, wow, that's something that someone literally started with their friends as a small time organization, and now it's this it's this power, right? We
Mm,
also have Nay Saga, which was started by another Black woman who took it upon herself to create this space within gaming and inclusion, and she's built a team to do these things, consulting, advocacy, what have you. And also Melanin Gamers is another one. That's another space I saw that was built and grown. um I need diverse games. Tanya DePaz, that's someone who I see, do things and I think, man, that's cool. I don't try to put her on a pedestal because she's just a human being like anyone else, but big respect definitely to her.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Um, are they so how do you balance your love for gaming with other areas of your life, right? Such as work or family obligations?
Um, it's a work in progress. I would say, uh, truthfully speaking, as an adult, you're obviously gaming is a hobby that you can just get into and enjoy. But obviously, being a journalist, I understand things aren't so rosy. It's not as simple as like, wow, here's this fun thing. But when you see there's issues regarding folks in unionization, deliverable wages, possible stories of like, crunch and things like that. What I try to do to balance that out is at my job, the team and I, we speak to each other about these things. We think about what's important for us to report, how we go about reporting it. And mostly it's a business site. So what we do is try to be very fact-based as possible, and just present the facts. What I love is that I think about one time in particular, I thought, this is a great example of something is where there was a story regarding a particular issue in allegations, and someone, I forget who exactly on the team wrote it, but they wrote, well, the company's saying this, that they're diverse and inclusive. Here's a link to their leadership. And then when you clicked on it at the time, you could just see a sea of white faces. So I thought that was hilarious. Um, and I was thinking, yeah, it helped. It's perspective. And so what I try to do is that, after I'm done with the workday, I clock out from the social medias. I just hang out within online spaces with my friends, and we just talk about different things. I unwind. I I try to do my best just to keep gaming, as one of my hobbies. I do also enjoy reading. I could probably spend hours talking about albums with someone, checking out art and things like that. And I just try to do my best to keep myself, active within those other hobbies. And yeah, just appreciate that, and just make sure I maintain my friendships with people who aren't necessarily journalists, who aren't necessarily very heavily into gaming, and I just try not to be in an echo chamber. And yeah, just trying to navigate life really, because South Florida is at times can be annoying.
I totally understand. I love that. I love that how you mentioned maintaining those relationships and then, just being well versed and well rounded, having people in other spaces that you can connect with, uh, just to kind of keep that balance because it is challenging with anything that whether it's gaming, whether it's you being an athlete, whatever, when it's something that
Right,
you really love and passionate about, sometimes it can overwhelm you, right? And find yourself
right.
kind of logged in for hours. How many hours do you spend on gaming a day? You don't
Um,
mind sharing.
well, a day, I guess it depends what. what I may be playing, because a lot of times, unless it's the weekend, I don't really put in a lot of time unless it's like a
Okay.
mobile game I'm enjoying playing. For example, that might be somewhere within like 40 minutes to an hour. During the week, it's very rare because the thing is like, I just spent my day looking at gaming news and gaming stuff. I'm not ready to just like log off and then jump on my couch and play a game. That's a consequence. I won't even know if consequence is the right word because of my job, but I'm just like, let me just sit in my chair and like listen to a podcast about like, I don't know, musical history or something like that. But on the weekends, if I'm being honest, it depends on if I'm not if I don't have anything planned, but I'd probably say maybe 12 hours maybe on the weekend, maybe a little more depending on things. But if it's like a slow weekend and there's nothing open, for example, it might even like take up to 16.
Oh my God. What's some of your favorite games?
That is a excellent question. So most recently, my favorite games are Validate. That's Validate struggling singles in your area. That's a game that stars an assortment of black and brown folks. And it's a visual novel, meaning that it's a game where you're like reading text and you're helping your character like make decisions at certain point. And it's really cool because the game is very much about those experiences, and the writing is really authentic. The characters feel like people, and it's also very queer as well. And I love to just see like creative works from people where they didn't have to like focus testing or worry about whether or not an 18 to 35-year-old conservative male may or may not like it. That's one of my favorite games right there. I think that's really cool. Another favorite game I like, I would say, is Neo 2 from Koei Tecmo, where that's one of those few games. I won't say few, but it's on the list where you can make really beautiful black avatars as your character, and then you could just go and play it for hours. And this person looks like they literally went to a stylist or a barber. I love it.
Not, and it's
I'm
Neo
trying to,
too. Neo
yeah, Neo
two.
2, yeah, NIOH2. Yeah.
NIOH2. Okay, I love that. I have to check that one out.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of something. Nothing else comes to mind. I would always say, Pokemon, because that's a game that's there's so many different versions. I don't think it really matters which one. Everybody of all ages can play them. It's really harmful. They're getting better with the character creator to have hairstyles for us. Slowly but surely, but they're getting there.
I love it. I love it. What's one piece of advice you would give to other Black gamers who may feel discouraged or excluded from the gaming community?
Um, Find your peoples. One thing that I've noticed, like not just within gaming, but just in general, because I've been reading more books and I've been thinking more about this, is like history has proven that groups that are marginalized for any reason, including Black folks, there's power in us just coming together. Like we recognize that, let's build these safe spaces for us just so we can feel like ourselves and not lose any sleep over not feeling included. So the advice I would give is like, if you're in a space that feels like, am I tripping because I'm Black? But and you're just not feeling it, I'd just say leave and just kick it with the homie somewhere else. Honestly, that's what I've done over the years, and it's a pace. It's just like, why am I here? It's like I try to bring up like an honest conversation about something in some space, and then I just saw where it went. And I just thought to myself, like, why exactly? And I'm worried about this, so I just like left the group. Eventually, I just found others, and here I am today. And I'll admit that's easier said than done, especially if you have any history you're worried about. But you find your peoples. That's it, really.
Peoples, find your
Yeah.
peoples. I love that too. You should come out. Do you have a merch line? Because You're,
No, no, I just
the sayings
mostly
that you're
just
dropping is like, I'm like, they're so dope, so dope. Tell the people where they can find you at on social media,
yeah.
learn more about your work, read some of, oh, I do one more question. What's one of
Yes.
your favorite piece of work that you've published?
Oh,
Whether it be articles, like what
um,
would you say? You know, if you have to toot your own horn and say, you know what, ooh, I wrote that. That right there, this piece is really impactful.
yeah. There are three things I would point to. Two on the site would be my most recent interview about the Negro Leagues. That is so cool because it's cool just having like Black history like that up on the site on a major gaming site. We're not the only one that that had like an interview about that, but for me personally, it's just cool, you know, like Black culture. We out here, right?
Right.
That's up on a major site. So that's one. The second I would point people to would be my end of the year review about Validate. Like I reviewed the game. It was my favorite game of the year. I would honestly ask people to read that because in that I was able to express why the writing felt so authentic. It felt a lot like when you're watching like a HBO show by like Issa Rae, because you could tell like she's in a writer room and so are other Black people and stuff like that. And the characters don't sound corny. They're saying things that feel legit and real. Um, One more thing I would say is if um, on a more personal end, I would direct people to my piece I wrote about Black men needing professional mental health. I would definitely point them to that. I think that for me, personally, I was really proud of myself because I was able to voice a lot of what I feel that a lot of people can relate to about like frustrations regarding our fears, and but taking care of yourself, especially in your mental health, shouldn't be scary. The more you do it, the easier it feels. It's all about you reflecting on things and just giving yourself the tools to navigate life. And those are the three things I would point to toot my own horn.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm tooting it too. Good job. Good job. Good job. Yeah, tell people where they could find you at. I'm just truly honored. Thank you for taking time today. I know we went
Oh
on
yeah.
our time, but this has been a really, really remarkable conversation, and you are doing some great work. And more need to know about you, man. You're doing
Yeah,
really great things. Where
thank
can they
you.
find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at capital J capital R potential. Um those are the first, that's my initials in the word potential. You can find me there. And you can find my work at gamesindustry.biz. I'm always trying to, have a feature up for folks. So yeah, you can check me out there.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Jeffrey. I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this.
Yes. Have a good one.
Likewise. Goodbye.
Bye.